The story begins with the protagonist Otakura Koichi quietly tapping on his phone during class. After being mocked in middle school, he now hides his hobbies and spends his high school life as a regular, glasses-wearing guy. While sitting in class, he spots his favorite series on sale and gets thrilled, eager to buy it and turn it into a beautiful painting. Completely lost in his phone, he doesn't notice a sweet, pretty girl repeatedly calling him Otaku-kun. When he doesn't respond, she sighs in disappointment, sits beside his chair, and softly calls him again. Shocked, he quickly looks around, unsure if Narumi-san's really talking to him. As she playfully teases him, saying everyone has gone home and they're alone, he looks puzzled. After all, she's Narumi Yoa, the girl who sits kitty-cornered to him. Since it's only been 2 weeks since classes started, her calling him Otaku-kun so casually feels a bit strange. Trying to be polite, he gently corrects her, saying his last name is Otakura. But she brushes it off with a cheerful smile and continues calling him Otaku-kun, excitedly asking about the picture he was drawing during class. Realizing he hadn't been careful about where other students were sitting, he suddenly feels embarrassed and flustered. Confused, he quietly mentions that he thought she was either asleep or busy on her phone like usual. Though he tries to change the subject, he cautiously and curiously asks if she needs something from him. Blushing with excitement, she suddenly shows him her nails and asks if they look crazy on her, leaving him stunned and unsure how to react. The fact that she's calling him so casually without really knowing him already feels strange, but he convinces himself she means no harm. Still, her request seems oddly messy and random. Hiding his real emotions, he struggles a bit, but finally compliments her nail design. When she calmly says she likes the design too, he's left even more shocked. As she looks for her phone, she explains she had tried to recreate the nail pattern from a picture, but it didn't turn out as planned. Then, leaning in, she shows him the reference image, making him panic and shocked. Ignoring his flustered reaction, she continues admiring the sparkling, galaxy-like nails, calling them a Milky Way style, wild, unique, and totally her own. With a small sigh, she admits that even after watching a few videos, her version came out completely different. Finally, she says she believed others might like her nails too, so she was going around asking for opinions, leaving him secretly relieved he hadn't said anything bad earlier. As he casually mentions he's about to leave, he's stunned when she suddenly leans in with a blushing face, showing her nails and asking if he can paint them like the design. At first, he's ready to refuse outright, but quickly composes himself and explains that drawing and nail painting are completely different. However, when she sweetly folds her hands in a pleading gesture, asking again with innocent eyes, he gets distracted for a moment. Regaining focus, he shakes his head, thinking deeply, wondering if nail polish could be similar to painting plastic models, which is his true hobby. Seeing her emotional, pleading face, he finally agrees to paint her nails, instantly making her eyes sparkle with joy. Her overwhelming excitement and closeness nearly make him lose his composure. Flustered, he quickly asks her not to tell anyone about his painting in class. She gently holds and squeezes his hands, gratefully agreeing and thanking him, leaving him completely flustered. As she calmly begins removing her nails, he's left feeling scared and unsettled, almost as if he's in a horror movie. But when she explains their peel-off nails, he realizes the situation isn't as dramatic as he thought. She can simply remove them. Excitedly, she shows him the nail pictures again, sparking his interest. Then she asks for his Instagram handle, but when he admits he doesn't have one, she calmly requests his phone number. This catches him off guard, as he hasn't exchanged contact information with anyone in the 2 weeks they've been in class. However, seeing her blushing and excited face, he hesitates but finally gives her his contact. With a final excited wave, she beams, thrilled to have him in her contact list, while he's left wondering if he'll be able to make the nails perfect. Back home, he searches for nail paint removers but finds them too expensive. Suddenly, an idea strikes him: he could use nail thinner instead. Realizing how challenging it must be to be a girl, he decides to give it a try. With a wet tissue, he rubs at the nail for 30 minutes, finally feeling excited and happy when the plastic nail shines clean. Next, he considers coating it with plastic paint, but becomes uncertain, worried that it might be impossible to clean afterward. Without wasting any time, he grabs his phone to ask her directly. He types a short message asking whether he should apply the permanent paint or not, but when he reads it, he feels it's too blunt. He rewrites it more casually but then wonders if it might come off too friendly. Confused and panicked, he struggles with the situation. He's never had many conversations with girls and has no idea how to talk to them. His thoughts are interrupted when his phone vibrates. It's a message from Namuri, asking if he's still awake. Before he can respond, she sends another message, this time a bold shower picture with a victory sign, leaving him stunned and flustered. His loud reaction causes his mother to scold him for causing a commotion with the neighbors. Flustered and confused about how to reply, he panics and quickly types that he's awake, then formally asks her about the permanent plastic nail paint, wondering whether it will be impossible to remove afterward. Annoyed with himself for being so direct and formal in his response without acknowledging her picture, he sends the message. On the other end, Namuri happily replies, saying that permanent paint is fine with her. Relieved, he decides to continue his work. Then she texts again, asking how long it will take. He informs her that due to the plastic paint dryer, he won't be able to give her the nails until tomorrow, which excites her even more. She sends a flood of surprised emojis and messages, leaving him amazed by how excited she is over just her nails. Feeling motivated by her enthusiasm, he texts back that he's starting the painting and immediately gets to work. After clipping all the nails for support, he happily grabs the paintbrush and starts painting, carefully adding tiny shining accents to them. The next morning he heads to school, yawning from staying up all night to finish the nail painting, and barely catches the earliest train. Arriving at class, he assumes no one will be there so early, but to his surprise, Narumi is already present. Both of them awkwardly ask about each other's early arrival, exchanging excuses. In reality, he came early to show her the nails, and she came just as early to see them. Finally, changing the subject, he nervously shows her the stunning nails, unsure of whether she'll like them. Her eyes widen in surprise and joy as she examines them, unable to believe they're hers. After confirming, she still can't believe it and asks for permission to put them on. Although he was nervous about her reaction, seeing her excitement and happiness reassured him. As she eagerly starts putting them on, asking for his thoughts, he's caught off guard when she suddenly grabs him and moves toward the window to take a photo to commemorate the moment. Without noticing his shocked expression, she takes the picture and happily adds filters, while his heart races from her gentle demeanor. As they look out the window, the other students begin arriving. Narumi spots her best friend Riko from another class and excitedly runs over to wish her a good day, which he happily agrees to. As she leaves, he exhales in relief, feeling the tension slip away and begins to feel sleepy. But suddenly, he notices a message from Narumi-san, thanking him warmly for his kindness and sending the selfie she just took, admiring his gesture. This marks the beginning of their secret connection. On the other hand, Narumi's classmates admire her cute nails, but she keeps their origin a secret, smiling to herself with happiness. After painting her nails, there were a few casual conversations between them, but for him, as a normal boy, there seemed to be no chance of becoming closer. Now standing in class, he becomes shocked and panicked when she seriously walks up to him, with a blush and a curious expression, asking for his permission to talk about something very serious, something she had been waiting all day to discuss. As she gets closer, his heart races, and he becomes flustered. She excitedly and happily shows him a magazine with the latest hairstyle trends, and asks for his opinion on the amazing cute styles. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking it was something simple like this, and despite not knowing much about such things, he agrees with her, following the natural way to talk to girls. Then hesitantly, with a reddish face, she asks for his help to do the same hairstyle with her hair. Shocked, she loudly reminds him that he had also helped with her nails earlier. Tilting her head cutely, she curls her hair around her fingers innocently, repeating her request, which completely mesmerizes him. Moved by her adorable expression, he agrees to help with all his effort, making her extremely excited and overjoyed. As they begin studying the hairstyle from the magazine, she excitedly shows him a popular look worn by the heroine in the season's top anime, a half-up style called kururunpa in Japanese. After reading through the instructions, they realize the anime heroine has half-curled hair, while she only has naturally straight hair. She nervously explained that curls never last on her straight hair and worried about hair breakage. Remembering how he used to braid his little sister's hair when they were kids, he starts thinking of a gentler way to curl her hair without causing any damage. Looking a bit sad and troubled, he asks her to wait for a moment and searches for something on his phone. When he finally shows her what he found, she becomes thrilled and overjoyed, so the two of them, filled with excitement, head toward the market to buy the right items. Before they reach the gate, she cheerfully tells him to wait there a bit as she needs to say goodbye to her friend from another class. He agrees to wait by the school gate. There, she approaches her friend from Class 1D, Himeno Ruriko, and gently apologizes for not being able to go with her. explains she suddenly made shopping plans with Otaku-kun. This surprises Ruriko, making her visibly annoyed and upset. As Ruriko angrily asks if she's really talking about that Otakura, she then starts insulting him, calling him gross and creepy. Meanwhile, Otakura, who is standing just behind the fence near the school entrance, overhears everything. Her harsh words sting deeply, making him feel awkward and out of place. But since the girls are standing right in front of the gate, he feels helpless and unable to move past them. Feeling disheartened and believing he's just a burden to Narumi-san, Otakura pulls out his phone and prepares to text her, planning to excuse himself from going out with her. However, just as he's about to hit send, he hears Narumi suddenly scolding her friend. In a firm and serious tone, Narumi defends him, telling Ruriko not to speak so cruelly about someone who hasn't done anything wrong. She insists that calling him gross is unfair and uncalled for. Ruriko, caught off guard, seems a little embarrassed by Narumi's strong reaction. Otakura, hiding nearby, trembles with emotion at the fact that Narumi actually stood up for him. Ruriko tries to defend her words at first, but then, annoyed and frustrated, she storms off. Before leaving, she glares angrily at Otakura, who's still frozen at the entrance, causing him to panic and quickly step aside. His heart pounds from this unexpected confrontation. He begins to wonder whether it was his fault that Narumi and her friend argued. Remembering advice from the internet about always going along with a girl's friends, he starts blaming himself for causing conflict between them. But just as he sadly turns to leave, Narumi suddenly calls out to him in her usual cheerful tone, her voice filled with excitement. This surprises him and makes his heart skip once again. Now thrilled about heading to the market, Narumi eagerly reveals she already picked out the shop, sparking his curiosity. On the bus, seeing her still excited despite the earlier argument with her friend, Otakura feels relieved and becomes determined to help her as much as he can today. When they arrive at the hair extension shop, Narumi is overjoyed, especially knowing the method won't damage her hair. Otakura, though initially nervous about shopping for girl-related items, relaxes upon seeing the accessories and cosplay sections, reminding him of animate stores. At the extension aisle, Narumi excitedly shows him one that matches her hair color. While he agrees it suits her, he professionally suggests using a color gradient extension, explaining that pink would create a splendid flare, and white would give her the same stunning effect as the anime heroine in the magazine. Shocked by his deep knowledge, Narumi stares at him, mouth agape. Together, they choose partial extensions that are both stylish and affordable, even buying a ribbon with the leftover money. The next day at school, everyone is stunned and impressed by Narumi's adorable and unique hairstyle. Compliments pour in, leaving her blushing with delight. Everyone is so busy admiring Narumi's adorable hairstyle that no one even notices Otaku-kun quietly walking beside her. The next morning, she calls him in tears, saying she tried to follow the magazine's steps for the hairstyle but failed. As he had expected this, he calmly tells her to come to school early so he can help her again. Grateful, she sweetly thanks him. In class, since he arrived early, he started fixing her hair. She humbly thanks him, saying she couldn't have done it without him. He also gently points out some tricky parts in the style he had already anticipated. After finishing, he blushes as he sincerely compliments her fiery hairstyle, which makes her blush even harder with joy. Then, noticing something different, she curiously asks if he looks taller today. He shyly responds by complimenting his straight posture, saying it suits him and makes him look taller, which causes him to blush too. He sheepishly explains that, as a regular guy, he never paid attention to how he looked. But just by walking with her, he straightened his posture, trying to look better. However, exhausted from holding himself upright, he slouches back down. Worried, she looks at his rounded back and playfully urges him to stay straight a little longer. Although he gives in a bit tiredly, her teasing and friendly tone brings a smile to his face. Even if he doesn't maintain the perfect posture, it feels like the distance between them is slowly closing. While staring at the school's activity posters, Otakura recalls the teacher's comment that joining club activities isn't mandatory. Still, he hopes to sign up for one just to finally make a friend. Since the start of school, he hasn't really made any connections, though he wonders if Narumi-san could count as a friend. He immediately flusters and shakes his head, convincing himself he's just a kind classmate being helpful to her. But his thoughts are suddenly interrupted when someone cheerfully calls out to him. To his surprise, it's Narumi-san, excitedly waving at him. Before he can respond, she suspiciously and secretly pulls him along and asks him to follow her quietly. Now both of them are sneakily peeking through the door of another classroom when he nervously and confusedly asks why they're spying on Class D. Narumi, sensing his confusion, quietly reassures him and, with a slightly worried tone, directs his attention to a girl sitting in the front row. She introduces the girl as her best friend, Himeno Ruriko, the one who argued with her before their extension shopping trip. They quietly observe as a gorgeous boy carrying a football approaches Ruriko-san and affectionately asks if she watched the last soccer match. When she calmly responds that she watched it with her brother, he excitedly shares that he saw it too with his younger sister. Both Narumi and Otaku-kun are stunned, recognizing the boy as Yoshida-kun, the most popular guy in Class D. As the two continue chatting, some nearby girls start whispering. One strange-looking girl among them shoots a sharp glare at Ruriko-san. Just then, another boy interrupts the conversation by grabbing Yoshida-kun by the shoulder and teasingly dragging him away, praising his love for soccer so much that he even chats about it with girls. Both boys laugh as they head off to the schoolyard, saying they'll squeeze in some practice before lunch. But moments later, they see Ruriko-san now sitting alone, and she's suddenly bumped into by the girl who had glared at her earlier. Though the girl offers a fake smile and a half-hearted apology, she taunts Ruriko by saying she didn't notice her because of her short height. Her two companions burst into laughter, mocking Ruriko as she sat quietly. Upon seeing Ruriko-san quietly ignore the girl and bend down to pick up her things, the girl leans in slightly and accuses her of being rude for not responding to her apology. Then, with a forced smile, she lowers her voice and bullies her, whispering harshly that she shouldn't act so smart and aggressively warns her to stay out of her way. Watching this from the classroom door, both Otakura and Narumi-san feel a wave of shock and anger wash over them as the rude girl simply flips her hair and walks off as if nothing happened. Fuming with frustration, Narumi-san clenches her fists, feeling deeply irritated that her best friend is being bullied by such a strange and mean girl. Turning to Otakura, she tells him that asking Riko-san directly won't help. Riko would never admit what happened. Then, with a serious tone, she shocks him by saying that the only way to solve this is for him to visit her home tomorrow morning. Her sudden proposal leaves him stunned and confused. Later, while both are standing in the cafeteria sipping their drinks, Narumi explains her entire plan. She tells him that she also intends to invite Riko-san to her house and proposes that Otakura give Riko a makeover, just like he did for her. He is thrown into panic, unsure whether simply changing her image can truly stop the bullying she's facing from other students. While tossing her drink into the dustbin, Narumi-san speaks with a hint of bitterness, revealing the harsh truth about the world, that most people judge others by their appearance. She believes that changing someone's image could be a powerful weapon to stop bullying. But when she sees Otakura's visibly confused and unsure expression, she softens and gently tells him not to go through with it if he doesn't feel comfortable. Then, with newfound passion, she explains that she simply can't stand by while her friend is bullied by those rude students. She wants to help Riko no matter what. Flashing a peace sign with an excited smile, she tries to lift the mood, saying she already has an awesome plan in mind. With hopeful eyes and heartfelt emotion, she asks him once more, will he help her? Even though Otakura understands what she's trying to say, his face remains clouded with uncertainty. It doesn't seem like he believes he can be much help. Sensing this, Narumi nervously admits that she would try it herself, but she's so anxious and confused that she fears she might only make things worse. Although Otakura remembers Ruriko's earlier rude remarks about him and doesn't hold a favorable impression of her, he becomes emotional as he recalls his own painful past, how he was bullied during middle school with no one around to stand up for him. Watching how passionate and determined Narumi is to protect her friend from being bullied, he quietly wonders, if someone like Narumi had been his friend back then, maybe he wouldn't have suffered alone. Just the thought that helping Ruriko might be like saving a piece of his own past moves him deeply. Even though he has no idea what Narumi's full plan is, he finally agrees to help her with all his heart and effort. His decision makes Narumi burst with joy and excitement. The next day, Otakura visits Narumi's house. As soon as Ruriko sees him, she shouts in shock, demanding to know why he's there. Narumi, now flaunting a new cute and stylish hairstyle, cheerfully explains that she invited him. Still flustered and confused, Ruriko scolds her for calling a boy over so early in the presence of her parents. Narumi calmly explains that her parents are away on a business trip due to a heavy workload. This makes Ruriko even angrier. In her frustration, she suddenly accuses them of possibly spending the night together, shocking both Otakura and Narumi. Narumi instantly erupts in protest, angrily denying the accusation and emotionally reminding Ruriko about the message she sent, how she was getting her hair makeover, and Otakura was simply helping her with that. But Ruriko, still ignoring his awkwardly excited expression, turns around and storms off, intent on leaving. Narumi quickly grabs a strand of her hair and, with a teasing smile, points to her own adorable new hairstyle. She proudly tells her that Otakura is the one who did it for her. Despite her initial reluctance and clear annoyance, she can't help but soften when she sees Narumi's emotional and determined expression. Her cute face and insistence get to her, and she unwillingly sits down on the couch. But she makes it clear that if he does anything weird to her, she won't forgive him, which causes him to feel nervous and frightened. Now both excitedly begin sorting through the supplies for the makeover. However, Ruriko is still visibly upset, debating whether to leave or stay. She notices that while Narumi's hairstyle is undeniably cute, she starts to wonder if it really looks similar to her own. Now, as Narumi sees his small hair iron mostly used for dolls, she offers him her own hair iron just in case his breaks. He, grateful for the offer, thanks her enthusiastically. Curious, he nervously asks the girls about their makeup routine, which surprises both of them. Seeing the suspicion in their eyes, he nervously stammers, explaining that when Narumi mentioned an image change, he watched a few online videos yesterday to prepare. Hearing this, Narumi's face lights up, and she happily takes his hands, praising him for his brilliance. She happily permits him to go ahead with the makeover. Meanwhile, Ruriko watches them with a worried expression, her mind swirling with doubt. She's not sure about the whole situation and, with a heavy heart, wishes she could just go home. As they begin straightening Ruriko's hair, Otakura carefully asks Narumi for a hair clip, which she hands over with a smile. Ruriko, removing her school coat, feels a wave of anxiety wash over her. Although she had agreed to this makeover for Narumi's sake, she starts to worry about whether he really has the skill to do her hair or if she'll end up looking weird. She finds herself debating whether she should speak up and stop him, but there's no turning back now. As he starts clipping her hair, Ruriko's mind races. Despite her frustration, she's still unsure about how it will turn out. She considers how she might lash out if her hair ends up looking strange, but she's also nervous about how she might look in the end. Her exhaustion from waking up early hits her, and as Otakura works on her hair, she feels herself drifting off. The warmth from the straightener and the soothing motion of him styling her hair soon cause her to fall asleep. When she finally wakes up, Ruriko is shocked. She gasps loudly and stares at her reflection in disbelief. Her hair is perfectly straight and looks almost silly to her, far different from what she had imagined. This sudden shock makes her shout in astonishment, shaking the house with the intensity of her reaction. Narumi, excitedly admiring Otakura for his skill, praises him for his work. Otakura shyly admits that it wasn't too hard because he had practiced a lot on his dolls. Although he was worried about her sleeping and her head swaying, he managed to straighten her hair. For the first time, Ruriko is genuinely impressed by him, recognizing that he possesses all the qualities one might look for in a marriage partner. As she finally wakes up, he excitedly suggests doing her makeup. He eagerly decides on gold-colored eye base and peach-pink shadows. Blushing, Narumi kindly suggests using something that would make her look both powerful and cute. Seeing his confused expression, she excitedly shows him a picture and decides on thick eyebrows, colored contacts, and red lipstick, so no one would dare bully her. As he nervously asks for Ruriko's opinion on the makeup, she acknowledges her best friend's point but still feels unsure whether such heady makeup would be acceptable at school. Unable to find a solution, she finally admits that he has watched many makeup videos just for her. Blushing, she humbly offers him the freedom to choose any makeup look, which surprises him. He agrees, making Narumi smile first and then excitedly cheer with joy. While holding her face and admiring her cuteness, he decides to define her lips and make her eyes look more droopy. Ruriko angrily protests, calling herself cute, but Narumi gently tries to calm her down. Then, Narumi excitedly decides to give her school uniform a new look, despite Ruriko's embarrassment and reluctance to touch it. She starts making small adjustments, while Ruriko angrily tells him not to look at her. After much work and planning, the alarm goes off, signaling it's time to get ready for school. They put on their school coats, both excitedly and delighted by her transformation. Narumi advises her to walk into school with confidence, proudly showcasing her new look. Blushing, Ruriko is excited to surprise her entire class. Upon arriving in class, Everyone is shocked and surprised by Ruriko's completely transformed, adorable look, straightened hair, and a new, stylish uniform. Some students even wonder if she had always been this cute. Yoshida, too, is taken aback and struggles to recognize her at first. The other girls in the class crowd around her, admiring her big, doll-like eyes with affectionate smiles. Ruriko blushes, knowing that Otakura-kun has a hobby of doing makeup on dolls, which makes the attention feel familiar. However, she grows nervous and worried about wearing such a short uniform in the cold winter. Yoshida laughs, easing her anxiety, and then surprises everyone by showing his usual passion for games. He places a hand on her shoulder and invites her to play soccer, leaving the class in shock. Seeing Ruriko surrounded by both boys and girls, Mika Kaneyama asks about the reason for the attention. When her friend informs her about Ruriko's new look, she, without even seeing her, harshly criticizes and bullies her, claiming that no change in appearance will alter her fate. Ruriko will still be bullied. She then storms out of the class. However, she is taken aback and frightened when Narumi-san suddenly grabs her from to the girls' restroom and angrily tells her to stop bullying her friend. Mika tries to deny it, but Narumi-san stops her, sternly explaining that her feelings for Yoshida-kun shouldn't lead her to act this way, especially not toward Ruriko. Mika is left in shock as she firmly stands her ground. Meanwhile, Otakura-kun nervously observes the situation, concerned about the escalating conflict between the two girls. Mika angrily shouts at Narumi not to interfere in her personal matters. However, Narumi, much more angrily and concerned, informs Mika that Ruriko is her best friend, which causes Mika to panic. She realizes that Narumi might be the most popular and highly respected girl in the class, making her a potential enemy even more dangerous. Nervous but still maintaining an attitude, Mika leaves, assuring them she won't bully Ruriko again. Once Mika has finally left, Narumi feels excited and happy for her victory. She then thanks Otakura-kun for all his help. But he looks at her in confusion. He wonders if her main goal was to scare Mika, in which case Ruriko's new look wouldn't have been necessary. With a bright smile and a slightly flushed face, Narumi excitedly explains to him the importance of Ruriko's transformation. She gently holds his head and directs it toward Ruriko, who is now politely interacting and smiling with her classmates. This surprises Otakura, as he hadn't expected such a change. Grabbing his hands gently, Narumi calmly explains that having a good appearance is a truly powerful weapon. She emphasizes that everyone must have faith in themselves because through this change, Riko has started to feel lighter in her life. Later, sitting in class, Riko hears Yoshida-kun's voice calling out to her. He smiles and compliments her on her cute new look, while thinking that he liked her previous eye-covered bangs too. After school, he yawns, clearly drowsy from the fatigue of waking up early to help with makeup at Narumi's house. Feeling sleepy, he decides to head home straight away. Despite his exhaustion, he's genuinely happy about how the morning turned out and also deeply impressed by Narumi's effort and courage for doing so much for her friend. As he walks through the corridor, he notices a crowd gathered near the second art club announcement. Curious, he finally makes up his mind to ask Narumi what she thinks about it. While changing his shoes and placing them into his assigned locker, he's suddenly startled by an emotional voice calling his name from behind. It's Himeno-san. Caught off guard, since they never really talk without Narumi around, he responds hesitantly, calling her name. To his confusion, she shyly asks him not to address her so formally, not as Himeno-san, but simply as Riko. Then, coming straight to the point, she thanks him sincerely for doing her hair and makeup that morning. Feeling both relaxed and touched by her words, he smiles warmly and reassures her. He tells her not to worry, because he truly enjoys doing those things, just like how he lovingly styles his dolls. Though Riko seems more relaxed now, guilt still lingers in her eyes. With a hesitant breath, she admits she once called him a creep behind his back when he wasn't around Narumi. He freezes, panic creeping in, only for her to suddenly bow deeply, apologizing with raw sincerity. She confesses she judged him harshly simply because she didn't know him. As she stays bowed, the sight tugs at a sleepy memory. His little sister used to apologize just like this, tears and all. Drowsy and half out of it, he mistakes Riko for his sister, and without thinking, gently pats her head with a soft smile, brushing off her worries like they never mattered. Though he smiles affectionately at Riko, her flustered and confused expression snaps him back to reality. Both of them suddenly shout in disbelief. In a panic, he tries to explain himself, blurting that it wasn't anything creepy. Her apology had simply reminded him of his little sister. Desperately, he tries to clarify, especially with people around staring, but Riko cuts him off and yells at him not to pull something like that in public ever again. As she storms off, red-faced and angry, he's left confused. Was she mad because he patted her head, or because people saw it? Watching her embarrassed retreat, he wonders aloud if that blushing face was genuine. Meanwhile, Ruriko, noticing her flushed cheeks, stands there stunned. Later that day, he's standing in front of a popular fast food joint when Narumi suddenly waves at him from the long queue. Cheerful as ever, she casually asks if he's been there before. When he says no, she smiles and says she comes here often. He's briefly thrown off, surprised by how warmly she calls his name, but is pulled back to reality when she urgently tosses her bag at him, asking him to hold it while she heads to the restroom. While he's saving her spot in line, someone tries to cut in. He politely apologizes and explains he's holding the spot for a friend. The man, unexpectedly impressed, backs off and compliments him for being smooth with girls, leaving him utterly stunned. Now with their drinks finally in hand, she looks relieved and cheerful, having just made it to the restroom in the nick of time. Seeing her so relaxed after nearly bursting makes him quietly glad he could help. As they sit down, she shyly admits she was terrified her number might be called while she was away. She nervously asks if ordering in her place caused any trouble. He chuckles and says it was a bit stressful, but he managed just fine. Taking a sip, she lights up and praises his choice. This new frap has been trending all over social media, and she'd been dying to try it. She eagerly suggests he try one too, but he smiles and says he's fine with just coffee. Though deep down, he's thrilled she appreciates his effort, since he ordered it using the money he'd saved for himself. Switching gears, he asks the real reason she wanted to talk. He's noticed she's been spending more time with him lately. She laughs and chats about how Riko's been gaining more friends thanks to him, and how she's been thinking of getting new nail art after their last conversation about hairstyles. Something about her voice, her joy, and the way she looks at him fills his chest with a giddy, ticklish warmth, like a gentle flutter of happiness he never expected. As she sips her drink, she casually asks him for the secret to losing weight. Shocked, he stares, making her flusteredly clarify she's not fat, just wants to slim down a bit for summer since she'll be wearing shorter outfits. But seeing her holding a large marshmallow frap, he can't help but ask her to explain properly. Blushing but determined, she says she plans to start a diet by quitting sweets. He raises an eyebrow and, adjusting his glasses, awkwardly tells her that the drink has the same calories as a full bowl of ramen. She's floored. How could a sweet drink equal a carb-loaded bowl of noodles? As he explains the sugar overload and hidden calories, her expression falls. Pouting, she shoves the frap aside dramatically, but then, reluctant to waste it, she slides it toward him, blushing, and offers it shyly. He refuses at first, saying he's full, but notices the curious stares around them. Realizing it might count as an indirect kiss, he hesitates. Still, not wanting to hurt her feelings, he finally reaches for it with a burning face and a quiet thanks. As he takes the first sip, she quickly turns away, cheeks glowing red, thinking it definitely counts as an indirect kiss. When he asks if she said something, she instantly denies it in a panic. Misunderstanding her flustered look, he assumes she wants more and, thinking sharing might burn calories, offers the drink back to her. Her heart races at his gesture. Tucking her hair behind her ear, she shyly accepts the cup, her cheeks burning crimson as she takes a sip. Watching her every move, he feels his heart skip a beat. When she asks how it tastes, he immediately praises it, but deep down, he can't even remember the flavor, too nervous to notice anything at all. After completing a month of high school, he's overjoyed to finally have a full week off. Sprawled on his bed, he's bubbling with excitement, ready to binge anime, read manga, play some games, and even doll up his precious figures. But his plans are interrupted by a phone notification. In their group chat, Narumi suggests going spring-summer clothes shopping. Ruriko, lounging on the sofa watching TV, casually agrees, saying she wants to pick up a few cute outfits. She then teases Otaku, asking if he'll join too, making him panic. Thinking about his tight budget and general indifference to fashion, he's about to decline. But before he replies, Ruriko smirks and jokingly tells Narumi that Otaku probably doesn't even own normal clothes. Her jab strikes deep. Frustrated and flustered, he quickly replies that he does have decent outfits. Narumi, now curious, eagerly asks him to show proof. In a rush of pride and irritation, he throws on a random outfit, snaps a photo, and sends it without thinking. The result is awkward silence. While he's busy boasting that he's not some middle school naked newbie, Both girls are left stunned by his getup: cheap fox leather pants, a silver chain, a too-short jacket, and a weirdly pinned shirt that screams questionable fashion sense. Trying to ease the tension, Narumi quickly texts the group, saying that clothing is all about personal taste. Feeling supported, he eagerly replies with a cheerful agreement. But Ruriko jumps in again, playfully teasing that his outfit isn't season-appropriate, and cheekily suggests he should bring his younger sister along to help him shop. After getting roasted repeatedly, he finally agrees. The next morning at the shopping district, he stands awkwardly in his school uniform, looking gloomy and embarrassed. His little sister had outright rejected his all-black streetwear, mocking him and suggesting the uniform would at least make him look presentable. So now, with no other choice, he looks like he's heading to class rather than a fashion outing. His thoughts are interrupted as Narumi arrives, dazzling in a light and elegant outfit, accompanied by Ruriko. They both apologize for being late, but he's too shocked to reply properly, covering his face with one hand, overwhelmed by how mismatched he looks beside the two stunning girls. To make matters worse, passers-by start staring, clearly confused about a uniformed guy hanging out with two fashion queens. Narumi, choosing not to comment on his outfit, quickly shifts focus and suggests shopping for him first. When she asks about his budget and he reveals he has 10,000 yen, the girls are stunned, wondering how he even funds his doll hobby at all. Calmly, he explains that his shopping money came from selling painted plastic models. He buys model kits, paints them according to his hobby, and when he grows bored, sells them at decent prices. His explanation leaves Narumi especially surprised. She had no idea he could earn money like that through his hobby. Ruriko, never missing a chance to tease, remarks that his budget is just enough, if he doesn't try buying anything flashy. Calmly, he replies that he only wants some normal, everyday outfits. Hearing this, Narumi lights up with excitement and eagerly leads them to a shop that fits his budget. As they arrive, he's taken aback. He's heard about this place before, but never actually visited. Ruriko, of course, teases him again for being clueless. As he begins picking out some plain shirts, both girls instantly reject his choices. Without hesitation, they shove him aside and start discussing options themselves with lightning speed. They decide to steer away from his usual all-black wardrobe and opt for lighter bottom tones that can be mixed and matched depending on the season. Watching the two girls dive into fashion talk with such energy leaves him stunned and speechless. Eventually, he tries on what they chose for him: an oversized shirt, a cozy cardigan, and wide leg pants. To his surprise, the outfit feels comfortable, stylish, and still true to his personality, even with the lighter colors. Ruriko dryly comments that this is the power of a girl's sense of style. With both girls encouraging him to buy the set, insisting it suits him perfectly, he excitedly agrees, thrilled by the idea of wearing them in the coming school year. Ruriko even teasingly warns him to actually wear them and not just keep them in his closet. With his shopping complete, the girls now turn to pick out clothes for themselves. Narumi looks especially thrilled as she chats about the cute new arrivals in the ladies' section. Meanwhile, Ruriko, thinking he clearly has no sense when it comes to women's fashion either, decides it might be fun to tease him some more, so she calls him over, insisting he come along to help them shop, for the laughs, of course. As they step into the store, he notices some unique heels and approaches the girls from behind, apologizing for being late. He then shows Ruriko a stylish outfit and suggests she try something more mature-looking for summer, reminding her of the need for practicality. To his surprise, Ruriko is taken aback by his perfect suggestion, though she's still unsure whether the outfit would suit her. Narumi, noticing Ruriko's hesitation, reassures her that the outfit will look great on her, even saying she'll look just as good. She then teases him about his long blonde hair, adding that it's impressive he knows so much about women's fashion. Encouraged by this, he confidently selects an ocean blue outfit for Ruriko, urging her to try it on. In the changing room, both girls are unsure whether their outfits will look good, with Narumi wondering if he'll like hers and Ruriko feeling embarrassed changing near him. His voice breaks the silence as he loudly asks if they're done. Narumi, blushing and a little shy, steps out first in a long, cute frock. He looks at her, excited and mesmerized by how beautifully she looks in the dress. On the other hand, Ruriko hesitates and peeks out from behind the curtain, clearly nervous and unsure. When she steps out, he immediately admires her blend of childish and mature charm. Excitedly, he claps and praises both girls, making them both a bit shocked. They're surprised that he, who seems so clueless about shopping for boys, has such an impeccable sense when it comes to women's fashion. In reality, he's been playing female avatars in online games and honing his eye for female fashion to improve his doll's appearances. With a blush, he explains that women's fashion is just fun for him, and he's happy to share his opinions. Ruriko, taken aback, finds it amusing that he seems more interested in women's fashion than even she is. Meanwhile, Narumi, smiling calmly, suggests they continue shopping, clearly entertained by his enthusiasm. It's nearly 3 in the afternoon when they finally finish their shopping. Both girls admire him for his help, as his ideas led them to purchase so many clothes, whereas they would have otherwise just wandered aimlessly. Ruriko, tired, suggests sitting down, so Narumi, excitedly and happily, suggests going to karaoke. Though Ruriko is almost too tired to agree, she's taken aback when he immediately agrees with the idea, leaving her stunned. Narumi, energetically dancing and rushing to book a room, glances back at him, wondering why he's staring at her. He awkwardly asks why she's looking at him like that. Confused, Narumi asks why he was so eager to agree to karaoke, especially since he doesn't seem like the type to enjoy anime songs. He excitedly responds that some anime songs are so popular that they hit the mainstream charts, assuring her he'll pick songs that both girls are familiar with. Although skeptical, Narumi agrees to have fun together. Once inside the karaoke room, they're all stunned by how well he sings. Both girls are shocked by his powerful voice. Narumi admires his singing ability, while Ruriko can't believe it's really his voice. When the system shows his score, 99 points, everyone is amazed. Ruriko looks slightly annoyed with herself for getting only 95, and Narumi, too, is a bit surprised with her 94. His ability to produce both male and female vocal ranges earns him high points. He recalls how his younger sister often teases him about his singing at home, and feeling determined, he grabs the mic again and passionately sings with all his energy. Ruriko, however, grabs the mic as well, surprising him when she joins in on the song. He's taken aback, but quickly brushes it off, unsure if she has any issues with his singing. Both of them continue singing their respective parts with determination and gorgeous voices. As they finish, Narumi excitedly applauds both of their performances. They head to grab drinks, but upon seeing that their glasses are empty, Narumi happily offers to bring them refills. As she leaves to do so, the system announces their highest score, 100 points, making everyone laugh and adding to the fun atmosphere. Upon seeing the high score, both become extremely excited and delighted. They high-five each other, thrilled since they'd never scored so high before. On Riko's suggestion, they take a picture of the screen before it clears, and as he looks at her, he notices her nervous expression. Concerned, he asks if she's okay. She looks at him with a puzzled face, wondering if he's forgotten something after receiving such high marks. Seeing his confused expression, she tilts her head toward him slightly. He quickly realizes that she wants him to rub her head, but he's unsure since it's his first time doing something like that, and he had reacted strangely the first time. However, now that he's certain she's okay with it, he finally places his hand on her head and begins to gently pet her. With a blush on her face, she shyly reminds him not to do this in front of Narumi. He continues to pet her head, confused and flustered, wondering how long he should keep doing this, worried that Narumi will come back soon. At that moment, Narumi excitedly opens the door, holding their drinks in her hands. Both of them quickly try to hide, nervous about being caught. Narumi is confused by their strange and puzzled expressions, but Riko, trying to control the situation, excitedly shows her the picture of their 100-point score, which makes Narumi incredibly happy and excited since she's never seen such high scores before. However, Narumi notices Riko's crimson-red cheeks and, concerned, asks if she's alright. Riko, embarrassed and confused, can't handle the situation anymore and hurriedly says she needs to go to the bathroom, quickly closing the door behind her. He thanks Narumi for the drinks and then asks if she wants to sing with him. But he's caught off guard and panicked when she smirks, her face flushed, clearly suggesting she'd noticed him patting Riko's head. Still stunned, he wondered if Narumi had seen everything from outside the door. Her playful smile gave it away as she teased him, asking if he truly cared about Riko. Flustered, he insisted he cared about her too, if she ever asked. But before he could say more, she stepped closer, tilting her head toward him, and softly gave him permission to caress her head as well. Her closeness made his heart race. As she leaned in, he hesitantly reached out and gently rested his hand on her head, still anxious about Riko walking in. He feared she'd be upset that Narumi found out about their little secret. Yet not wanting to ruin such a beautiful day, he slowly began to pat her head. With her head resting near his chest, She shyly asked why he called Ruriko Riko, but used her full name. He explained she had allowed it. Then, cheeks flushed, Narumi quietly told him to call her Yua, turning his face red. Seeing his flustered look, she grins and laughs softly. Standing up with a spark in her eyes, she declared she wouldn't ask about the head patting on one condition. He had to sing with her. That made him smile. Fueled by the warmth of his gesture, she sang her heart out, though she didn't realize her happiness came simply from Otakura's gentle care. The three of them sang until their voices were gone, wrapping up their golden week with laughter, music, and sore throats. It's the second half of their golden week, and the trio is spending the day at the swimming pool. Ruriko holds a watermelon while Yua carries a float too, both waiting under a beach umbrella for Otaku-kun, who's still in the changing room. The day before, Ruriko had messaged them, saying she got 3 free tickets to the pool thanks to her parents. Yua gratefully thanks her and asks her to pass along her appreciation to them. Ruriko simply smiles, saying she's just happy Yua came, especially since she worried Yua might skip out due to unfinished homework. That stuns Yua, who suddenly wonders if she forgot something. Ruriko glares at her, suspiciously asking if she really forgot about the assignment, and warns her not to ask for help. Quickly changing the subject, the two girls begin to wonder why Otaku-kun hasn't shown up yet and decide to check near the changing room. But before they can move, 2 college-aged boys approach them with playful grins, asking if they're sisters. Yua, missing the teasing tone, gently corrects them, saying they're not sisters and that they're not alone. Ruriko, catching on to the boys' real intentions, coldly adds that they're just classmates. The boys step back, whispering to each other. One jokes that Yua must be a developed middle schooler, while the other scoffs at Ruriko's height, doubting she's even in high school. Enraged, Ruriko snaps at them, having clearly heard their remarks. Yua tries to de-escalate the situation, calmly stating that they're with someone. Still smirking, the boys assume the third person is another girl and invite them to hang out together. The girls grow more annoyed, until a familiar voice calls their names. Otaku-kun finally arrives, and the girls' faces light up with excitement. He waves and apologizes for being late, explaining that it's his first time wearing contact lenses, which took longer than expected. But both girls are struck speechless, staring at his unexpectedly chiseled and athletic physique. Neither of them expected that hidden under his usual modest clothes. Noticing the unfamiliar boys, Otaku-kun casually asks if they're friends of theirs. The boys, clearly intimidated by his build, instantly panic. They awkwardly stammer that they were just passing by, throw out a compliment on his body, and flee the scene. Watching them retreat, Otaku-kun turns to the girls and asks if they're all right. They glance at each other, then shrug it off, saying the guys were just trying to hit on them. As Riko changes the topic, she nervously and curiously asks about his surprisingly muscular body. Blushing a bit, Otaku-kun shyly explains that he got inspired by a popular fitness anime. Ever since, he's been following its workout routine strictly, and over time, it just became a habit. Now realizing that he's not only great at fixing things, like helping with her hair earlier, but also has an incredible body, both girls are stunned and impressed. Mesmerized, Yua-san hesitantly asks if she can touch his muscles. When he nods with a shy smile, she eagerly places her hand on his chest, feeling the firm movement beneath his skin. Her eyes light up in awe, clearly amazed by how solid and powerful he feels. Turning to Riko, he casually offers his arm and asks if she wants to try holding on too. As she timidly walks closer and wraps her arms around him, Otaku-kun gathers his courage and lifts her up. Blushing, Riko laughs with delight as he playfully swings her around. Nearby kids watch with wide eyes, seeing Riko's joyful smile and the fun of being swung in strong arms. Excited, they tug on their dad's sleeves, asking him to swing them the same way. The father, clearly panicked, tries to distract his kids and quickly ushers them back toward their mother, gently pulling them away from the scene. Watching this, Yua-san, with her cheeks slightly red, holds Otaku-kun's hand and sweetly asks if she can be swung too. But since she's much taller, it seems impossible. Otaku-kun looks at her flushed face, drawn in by how close she is. Feeling his heart flutter, he quickly shakes his head to avoid falling for her charm in that moment. Riko, still happily clinging to his arm, asks if he can walk while carrying her like this. He instantly agrees and starts heading toward the swimming pool. Yua, watching from behind, feels a bit annoyed that he's ignoring her. A playful idea strikes her. With a commanding tone, she calls out to him and orders him to squat down. Confused but obedient, he crouches. Suddenly, she jumps on his back, making him flustered and panicked, his face completely red. He nervously points out that her body is pressed against his, but seeing her joyful expression and knowing she's fully aware, he can only sigh in defeat. Now carrying both girls tightly, Otaku-kun walks into the pool, earning admiring looks from both. Once again, the nearby kids run to their dad, begging to be lifted too, but the father, knowing what they want, sadly tells them it's just not possible. After walking for a bit, Yua-san feels a surge of excitement as they reach the deeper part of the pool. But noticing Riko-san struggling to stay afloat due to her short height, she frowns, realizing they forgot to bring the inner tube. Concerned, Otaku-kun quickly offers to go get it for her. Yua points out that it's tied to the chair under the umbrella, and Riko sincerely thanks him, smiling warmly. He casually brushes it off, telling them to wait there as he heads out. Stepping outside the pool area, he spots the float and moves swiftly to retrieve it. Remembering how both girls got bumped into by some boys earlier, he decides to hurry back immediately to avoid any trouble. As he rushes back, a stunning woman calls out to him from behind. With a sweet smile, she innocently asks if she can touch his muscles. Stunned, he looks around in disbelief, wondering if she's serious. She cheerfully explains that she's into well-built young men like him, which shocks him even more. He never thought of himself as the type to get approached like this. Flustered, he makes up an excuse, saying he has to return soon, but the woman insists, asking to just touch a little. Growing more uncomfortable and annoyed, he realizes no excuse is working. At that moment, both Yua and Riko arrive behind him, glaring at the woman. They firmly ask if she's bothering him and declare loudly that he's with them. The woman, now visibly embarrassed, quickly laughs it off, says their close bond is adorable, and apologizes before waving and walking away. As she leaves, both girls, clearly irritated, ask if she did anything to him. He innocently explains she just wanted to touch his muscles and meant no harm. But the girls aren't convinced. It felt like a classic trick to them. Without giving him a chance to respond further, they each grab one of his arms and drag him back toward the pool. Though he insists he can walk, the girls refuse to let go. To them, it's just too risky to let him go anywhere alone again, not when he draws more attention than both of them combined. After Golden Week ends, it's time for the midterm exams, and every student is visibly anxious. Yua-san approaches Otaku-kun with a worried expression, joining her hands together as she pleads for his help in studying. He's stunned, especially when she confesses that her panic isn't just over a bad quiz, it's because she's actually failing her subjects. This revelation shocks him even more. He's puzzled. How could someone as intelligent as Yua, who had excellent grades throughout junior high, be failing? After all, this school only accepts top-tier students. But then he recalls, ever since he gave her a new hairstyle and shared beauty tips, Yua has been diving deep into research about nails, hair, and makeup. She stayed up late chatting with him and others online, causing her to doze off during lectures. It all starts to make sense now. Her slipping grades aren't because she lacks ability, but because of distraction and lack of sleep. With a heavy sigh, she sorrowfully admits that the school allows freedom in fashion and hairstyles only for hardworking, high-achieving students. He knows this well. His own admission was granted under the same condition. Now panicked and teary-eyed, Yua suddenly yells that if she fails, the school might force her to change her hairstyle and dress style, something she absolutely doesn't want. He still isn't sure how he could help, being an average student himself, but before he can say anything, she begins crying. Between sobs, she explains that all her friends are busy preparing for their own exams, and he's her only hope. Deeply moved, he finally agrees and suggests they find a quiet place to study together. Yua, overwhelmed with emotion, blushes, eyes shimmering with tears, and thanks him. But to his complete shock, she tightly hugs him out of gratitude. His face burns red like fire as he panics, warning her that classmates might see them. Sure enough, several boys witness the hug and glare daggers at him, jealousy written all over their faces. Just then, Riko-san peeks through the classroom door and freezes in shock at the sight of them embracing. But before any misunderstanding grows, Yua explains to her that they formed a study group to prepare for exams. Riko suggests they head to the library instead, but Yua explains that it's already packed, and they wouldn't be allowed to whisper or talk freely there. So with a sudden turn, she invites Otaku-kun to her house to study, and he immediately agrees with a smile. Riko is left speechless, surprised that Yua would so casually invite a boy to her house alone. But when Yua turns to her and asks if she'd like to join them, Riko agrees, on one condition, that they don't flirt in front of her. Both instantly agree without hesitation. Later, at Yua's house, the study session begins, but it's quickly clear that progress is slow. Yua is incredibly far behind in her studies, making the task much harder than either of them expected. Due to Yua's struggles in her studies, they decide to study on weekends, as weekdays don't seem enough. Rico calmly suggests that he teach Yua how to guess answers during tests, which he agrees to, though he feels guilty about it. The days pass similarly. On Saturday morning, he arrives at Yua's house, holding a suspicious box in his hands, dressed casually. He rings the doorbell, calmly greets her, and introduces himself. Yua asks him to wait a moment, then excitedly opens the door, revealing Rico, who is already there and ready to study. After entering, Otaku-kun thanks the girls for calling him over. Rico, curiously eyeing the box, laughs and teases him about having his secret weapon inside. As they talk, Yua, still sleepy, yawns from the other room. Switching topics, Otaku-kun relaxes a bit after seeing Yua's good progress on the mock test. However, he's still concerned about her grasp of the basic concepts. Yua, tired and focused on simply passing the exam, assures him that she's doing well enough. With a worried look, Otaku-kun reminds her that, due to the limited time, she should focus on learning how to guess answers. Adjusting his glasses, he advises her to work hard after the midterms, or else she might have to repeat the year. His words seem to strike a nerve, and Yua, visibly irritated, angrily declares that she will not repeat the year. Rico, ever the tease, continues to push her, playfully suggesting that if she fails and ends up in the lower class, they would still be friends. However, she'd have to call him senpai. This only frustrates Yua even more, making her even angrier. Before taking Yua's irritated expression too seriously, Rico, clearly delighted, mentions their happiness about being in the same class next year. This only annoys Yua further, causing her to loudly exclaim that neither she nor they are flirting here. The topic changes quickly as they decide to focus on studying again. The two of them continue their studies seriously, having finished their coffee break. Everyone is deep in concentration when, finally, Yua, exhausted, rests her head on the table and pulls her legs up, feeling drained. Rico, annoyed, tells her not to move her legs so boldly. Noticing the time, he excitedly suggests they take a break and begins opening his suspicious box. He pulls out 2 jars, excitedly explaining that he prepared a traditional Italian fruit cocktail, Macedonia, for them to enjoy during their study break. Seeing this, both girls light up with excitement, their cheeks turning red from delight. When they ask how he made it, he shyly admits he tried it after seeing a recipe on a blog and combined sliced fruit with cold gelatin. His sister had liked it at home, so he thought he'd share it with them. While it's fine to eat the fruit cocktail as is, he suggests they top it with fruit soda, claiming it has fewer calories than frap. Both girls, now even more excited and surprised, decide to try it immediately. As they take their first bites, the fizzy sweetness hits them, and both girls are shocked, unsure if he really made it. Their surprised expressions make him think they didn't like it, leaving him embarrassed. Rico, concerned, asks why he isn't eating. He explains that he already had some while testing the fruit cocktail, but in reality, he only brought 2 jars, one for each of them. This makes her feel a bit sad. She fills her spoon and, with a determined expression, asks him to open his mouth, explaining that it wouldn't look right if both of them are eating and he's not. Realizing her point, he opens his mouth. However, when Yua sees this, she panics, loudly shouting for them to stop, exclaiming that it's an indirect kiss. This catches them off guard. They exchange shocked looks, surprised by her reaction as they're not children anymore and such things don't bother them. Realizing that she might have misunderstood, her heart races a little. Yua, still flustered, leans in close to him and asks him to open his mouth. With her face flushed and eyes wide, she asks if it's gross. He insists it's not what she thinks, but her nervousness is clear. Finally, he hesitantly opens his mouth, taking the bite. Yua, still blushing, watches him, her cheeks tinged with color as she gazes affectionately at him, a soft smile spreading across her face. Seeing both cheeks flushed, Rico becomes confused, wondering if Yua is embarrassed by the indirect kiss. It's hard to believe, especially since Yua is usually so confident and outgoing, yet now she's blushing and flustered over something so simple. Her thoughts are interrupted when, at his suggestion, the trio gets back to studying, focusing intensely on their work. With the help of both, she managed to pass the mock test on Monday. However, no one knows that Yua worked extra hard just to forget about the embarrassment of that indirect kiss.